All right, welcome back to the channel. So the Philadelphia Eagles decides to part ways with offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo after just one season. The Eagles offense was just kind of like stuck in neutral all season. They had some bright spots, but a lot of times those bright spots was due to the game plan and those plays being scripted. A lot of NFL teams script plays. They'll script maybe 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 plays. And those plays are plays that they feel very confident in that the offense can execute at a high level and could, go downfield and score. And then in the case of the Philadelphia Eagles, once you saw those scripted plays either get stopped by opposing defenses or, were successful, the offense was just the offense just stopped producing. And that was very common all season. You see the Eagles do pretty good in the first half. They would jump out on pretty good leads. What I think about is that game versus the Dallas Cowboys, the second game where the Eagles was beating them 21-0. The Eagles go in for halftime, come out. The Eagles don't score any more points, and the Dallas Cowboys come back, score 21 unanswered, and go on to beat the Eagles, which was a very disappointing and confusing loss for me. And so, they had to get Kevin Patullo out of the building. I think if I am Jeffrey Lurie, I'll sit down Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni. Now, for how good Howie Roseman is, he plays a part in this because he is the general manager. And I would sit Nick Sirianni now and I would tell them, hey, gentlemen, y'all need to be mindful. Y'all need to be mindful of the history. And that history is exactly what happened a few years ago. So when the Eagles went to play the Kansas City Chiefs the first time in that Super Bowl and they lost, Shane Steichen decides to go be the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. The Eagles don't go out and get Jalen Hurts and the offense a proven, experienced offensive coordinator. They decide to promote from within, and look how that happened. Right after that, next season, they got that offensive coordinator out of there, and they go out and they go get Kellen Moore. And you know what happened? The Eagles win a Super Bowl. Kellen Moore decides to leave, go be the head coach with the New Orleans Saints. And once again, the Philadelphia Eagles, Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni, instead of going out and once again go and get Jalen Hurts, a proven offensive coordinator with real experience, calling plays, they said, nope, they got too arrogant. And they said, we're just going to promote within. And that offensive coordinator was Kevin Patullo. And you've seen how just terrible the offense was all season. We get to the playoff game, and it's just, the Eagles and the 49ers are going back and forth. At one time in that game, I just believe that the 49ers, after they lost George Kittle, I just thought that I was like, man, it's over with. The 49ers don't really have nothing much left to offer. And the Eagles had nothing to offer, as the Eagles had nothing to offer the 49ers in terms of scoring on them with offensive production. And then you saw that final play that the Eagles drew. That the Eagles drew up versus the 49ers, that final play, the Eagles decided to run 4 verticals versus quarters. Quarters is pretty much you got 4 defenders across the top, 2 safeties, the 2 cornerbacks. They're playing deep, and you're not gonna do anything versus a quarters defense running that play that the Eagles ran, and that just kind of summed up the Eagles' offensive attack all season. And so now Kevin Patullo is out, and the Eagles are now looking for another offensive coordinator. Another offensive coordinator in as many as 6 years. I think Nick Sirianni is coming up on his 6th year as the Eagles head coach, and I think they're ready to went through. They went through a couple. They have went through a couple offensive coordinators there in Philadelphia. And so I think that, Jeffrey Lurie has to stress to Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni, y'all need to get it right. I would go, well, today, after we didn't hear anything after the game on Saturday, and we didn't hear anything on Sunday, and we didn't hear anything on Monday, I thought that maybe the Eagles were going to get rid of Nick Sirianni and Kevin Patullo. I wouldn't have thought, if that would have happened, I would have not been very surprised at all, because I do think that Jalen Hurts is a very limited quarterback, and I'll talk about that more on another episode. But I do think that Jalen Hurts is a very limited quarterback, and you need someone who is a very good, experienced offensive coordinator to squeeze the most productivity that you can out of Jalen Hurts and cater an offense to what he does very good. Or cater offense to what Jalen Hurts does very good, right? And but you would prefer to have a head coach who is an X's and O guy. Now, Nick Sirianni has a background as an offensive coordinator, but we saw during the 2023 season that he was not able to rescue the football team when the offense was very stagnant. And fast forward to this season, Nick Sirianni was not able to rescue the offense when the offense was pretty much struggling all season long. And that's because Nick Sirianni is not a true X's and O's head coach. He's just more of an arrogant, brash, tough guy on the sideline, clapping and just looking around and getting in screaming matches with AJ Brown. And so you just want to have a head coach who is either a former offensive coordinator or who is a just a very experienced X's and O type guy, like a Mike McDaniel, a Sean McVay, someone like that, right? Obviously Sean McVay is not going to come over to the Eagles, but I'm just saying, I was just giving y'all examples, right? You want a head coach who has experience, and who can lend a helpful, hand to a very limited quarterback, such as Jalen Hurts, or who also can, if the offensive coordinator is failing, can come in and say, hey, you know what? I got it from now. I'm going to be calling plays, right? You see Dan Campbell, for as much as the Lions are, took a step back this season, he started calling the plays. But I'm not saying that Dan Campbell is a very great play caller, but you would want a head coach who has some type of familiarization with calling plays and who can call plays and be competent as the head coach for the Philadelphia Eagles. And Nick Sirianni is just not that guy. Now, Nick Sirianni is not going anywhere, but I do think this next season and this offseason, a lot of pressure is going to be put on him and Howard Roseman to find an offensive coordinator to get in there and to be able to bring that Eagles offense back to its old ways. Now, I don't think that AJ Brown is going to be around very much longer after what he did in that playoff game versus the 49ers, the drop passes, just all of the pouting and the going back and forth all season long. Some people said that maybe AJ Brown was just being that way because he was frustrated by the offense and by the offensive coordinator. But my thing is that you are a professional, you're being paid a lot of money, and you don't do that. You don't try to sabotage your team when your team depends on you as a wide receiver number one. And when your team depends on you in a big game like the wild card playoff game versus the 49ers, you go out there and because you're butthurt, you drop passes and you take plays off. So I don't think that it was necessarily that. I just think that AJ Brown is just a selfish guy. And I think his time as a Philadelphia Eagles player has run out. I appreciate the contributions that he's given the Eagles, helping the Eagles get to 2 Super Bowl appearances and winning 1. And as being a all pro bowler for the Eagles. But I think that with everything in life, time runs out, and sometimes you just need new scenery and a fresh breath of air. And I wish AJ Brown the best of luck, but I think Howard Roseman needs to try to trade him for some picks so you can get younger in the wide receiver room. And this pivotals Devontae Smith, man. Devontae Smith is a very good wide receiver. He's capable of being a wide receiver 1. And I think the Eagles need to take some picks and get a new wide receiver in there opposite of Devontae Smith. And just go from there because, Dallas Goedert is not a scrub. And Devontae Smith is not a scrub. And I think it is just time to get another, pass catcher in that, in that receiving room for Jalen Hurts and that Eagles offense, because I think that the AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts friendship and relationship is ruined. And I think that after that performance and that blow up between Nick Sirianni and AJ Brown on the sideline, I just think that relationship is over with, and the Eagles are going to look to move on in the offseason. But yeah, Kevin Patullo has been fired. I think that Nick Sirianni needs to be put on the hot seat, or I think a lot of pressure needs to be put on Nick Sirianni and Howard Roseman to find Jalen Hurts a proven, experienced offensive coordinator who can help Jalen Hurts, who is a very limited quarterback who just does not see the field very well, stays reading his number one read way too long, and just does not want to throw over the middle of the field. And so either they find him a very good offensive coordinator, or they start thinking about a succession plan for quarterback, because it is not far-fetched to think that Jalen Hurts may have hit his ceiling as the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. All right, so that's all I got for now. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section. And until next time, I am